So this is one thing, is I'm learning more and more about the prophet and his teachings. He is bringing us back to what has been de-emphasized in the Christian theology and Jewish theology. He is highlighting in his teachings through the Revelation material that we have, for whatever reasons, overlooked or ignored. So he's bringing us back, I think, to where we ought to be and ought to have been. So that's one overall point I want to make. Another.
What do you see on him?
The first image that comes to my mind is tolerant. Because he lived in a community where there were Christians and Jews. And so he had this multicultural group there. And as a businessman, when he traveled throughout Arabia on those caravans, you know, he was exposed to all kinds of cultures. So in a way, you might say he was a man of his world. And I think that had something to do with making him into a person who could tolerate differences and accept differences. And I think that appears also in the Revelation. You see this tolerance. As he's, well, I can't remember the exact verse, but he's basically kind of speaking to the Jews and the Christians, let us come together, you know. So this is an image I have, strong one, that he was a very tolerant person. And that even went into his understanding of women, which in his day, as we know, was a pretty radical idea. And in the community, that early community, the women were there participating in making decisions in the community. And in some way they're more advanced than we are here in America, I think. Here the women were making decisions in the community that had major effect throughout the community. So that's another aspect to think of as tolerance and his response to the revelation that was given to him. A third thing that comes to me is that, and as the Quran itself said, that you, Muhammad, are just a messenger of mercy. So that's pretty important, that he was a vehicle to reveal mercy to the world. And that brings in this dimension of humility. So this tolerance, this openness, this humility in being a vehicle of mercy, and trying to teach others to be vehicles of mercy. These are three pretty dominant images I have of the prophet.
The image on the caricatures is so. How do you comment those caricatures, those cartoons?
I think those are another expression of the myth, that the prophet is this crazy warrior that is going to bring in terror. The myths have not died down. They appear in different forms. And I think that's another form of expression, rather, of the myth. And the myth goes way back, as I said, to the 1300s. So what does that say? It says to me that Muslims and Christians and Jews need to go back and study but how these myths began back there. and maybe you see how things got started, then maybe you can put a stop to it. But most people don't know that that's how it got started. So what does that say? That practically speaking, I think it means that the Roman Catholic priests in the parishes here in the United States and in Europe need to learn about how this all got started. And then they speak out against it, and they say, that is wrong. The prophet is not this. Sure, he married a young girl when she was 13, but this is a cultural thing. And we have to understand what it meant to have a lineage marriage, which is prevalent in Arabia at the time. And then the Protestant minister be taught in seminary, that these are myths and these are distortions. And in the rabbis.
Müslüman dünyasındaki Batı dünyasıyla ilgili mitler nelerdir? Onları da soralım mesela. Onları da cevap. Onlar da